Hello and welcome to October's the Back Gallery Live Art Club from OT Creative Space. I'm Linda, I've got my helper Tegan with me, and we've even got two younger helpers in another. So we'll see how we go. So as you are probably aware, it's a grim rainy day today, so paper mache is a perfect activity to do when the weather is not good and you can't get outside, and we're going to be using items that you can find in your house. So we did put out a little video about making the paste, but if you have made it, brilliant, keep that to hand. If you haven't made it, I'm going to just do a quick demonstration again, and Tegan is going to help stir that on the hob while we get on with something else. So just a reminder, to make your paste, all you need is flour. Any type of flour will do. Plain flour, we've done self-raising flour, it still works. And we use a ratio of 1 cup of flour to 2 cups of water. So hello to everybody watching. Imogen, I think you're there with your kids, which is brilliant.
Hannah Gibson.
And Hannah Gibson, I hope you're having fun as well. Okay, so we put 1 cup of flour in there, and then we do 2 cups of water. So really simple. And I know a couple of you had tried this before and it got a little bit lumpy, and I think somebody mentioned they used potato masher to get it smooth. Brilliant. Don't worry too much about the lumps, just do your best, because when we get using our hands we can smooth it down a little bit as well. So we'll move those things to the side. Give it a good stir before you put it on the hob. So just give it a really good stir. You can see it there. And then we just put it on a low heat on a hob.
Be careful when you're doing it.
And it should take about 5 minutes to thicken up into a paste. So I'm going to leave Tegan here. She's responsible enough to be at the cooker. Obviously just make sure adult supervision is required. And it's really good to just keep stirring it the whole time for 5 minutes. So Tegan, I'm sure, will let us know when it's got thicker. So, and this is one that I made the other day and I've stored in the fridge, and as you can see, it's really gloopy, and you can store it for about, probably up to about a week really, but it works best in a couple of days in the fridge. And you may find that you get quite into paper mache and you keep making more and more. All I would say is if you're making it fresh, just make sure it's cooled down before, make sure you check it before your kids put their fingers in, because we don't want any burnt fingers. So that's your paste sorted. So you can all keep on with that one on the hob. So the next thing you need is some kind of base. So we've got some examples here of different bowls that we've made with paper mache. We've even made a little pot, and again this is just using things you can find around the house that you can do. And also these are quite fun. We had a hexagonal tub, I think it was a Philadelphia tub, and we managed to make this little pumpkin themed one there, or just a shallower tray. So any kind of things, I've got a few examples. Ice cream tubs are great, bowls. You could even go huge and do a really big bowl, that's possible. Or like this one, small mug or pot that doesn't have anything on the side, you can use to make a pen pot. Now don't worry if it's, a bowl like a cereal bowl that you want to keep using, that's fine, because once the bowl, so it'll be on top, once it has dried, that's when you lift it off. You can wash that, use it again, and then you will have your bowl. Now what we're going to focus on today is we're going to be thinking about the types of paper that you can use to make your bowl decorative. So all these bowls and pots we've made here, we've not done any painting or anything like that with them, although you can do if you want. We've just looked at the type of paper that we can use to make them. So you can see this one is actually done with shredded paper. So just loads of spare shredded paper. We've just carefully pasted them on to make that. And the inside is a really important thing, and that is the layer that we are going to begin with today. With the paper mache bowl, you tend to need about 3 layers, and it's really important to leave each layer to dry in between. Yeah. So you've got the items that you're going to use. Now another thing, if you haven't got to hand, you might try and go and find it, and that is either some cling film or some Vaseline, and you're going to put that on whatever you use as your base to protect it, but also it just means when it's dry it will ease off much quicker and easier and won't leave anything on the bowl, and you just wash off the Vaseline or remove the cling film. So if you've got one or the other or both even you can use, that's great. But before we prepare our bowl, we're just going to have a little think about different types of paper that we're going to use. Now the first layer is the most important layer on your bowl, because that is what you're going to see on the inside. So I know the girls over there are they're looking at their first layer that they're putting on, and that will be the inside of your bowl. So when it comes off, that's what you're going to see on the inside. So just to note on this one here, we have used, so the first layer we did was orange tissue paper. Then we did another couple of layers just with any old scrap paper, and then the final layer was orange tissue paper again, which gives that idea of that it's orange the whole way through, but actually you've been using different papers. So the first layer and then the final layer, those are the 2 most important ones. So in terms of paper, you can use scrap paper, it could be shredded, it could be, I've got some packaging paper, if you get anything delivered online, packaging paper is brilliant. Got some coloured paper, some old drawings, those can be ripped up and used as paper mache. And even wrapping paper, it's another good one. That's a really good one to use for your final layer. So that'll be the outside of your bowl at the end. And then also, like I said, tissue paper's great to give that feel either inside or outside. And then newspaper and magazines. And when you've got your paper, you want to rip it up small. So the girls over there have been ripping their paper nice and small. You want to get it in really little pieces. The smaller the better, because that means you can get a really good coverage. How are you doing on here?
Pretty much really thick now.
Fantastic.
A little
Great.
bit liquidy, but
So that's been, so you can see it's thick enough to hold up. That's been 5 minutes with the paste. So we'll just turn it off there. And then what I'll ask you to do, Tegan, is if you can just keep giving it a bit of a stir just for a little bit longer, but making sure you don't touch the paste because it is really hot at that stage. So again, you might want to pop it in the fridge or leave it to the side about 15 minutes or so. But again, adults, make sure you check it first to make sure that it's okay before little fingers go in. So what you want to do, you want to get all your paper ready into little chunks. Think about what your first layer is going to be. I think I may choose, I might do some magazines for my first layer, so I've got some little pieces there on one, and I've got a few other little tips. I'll show you, this is a demonstration, and then I'll show you a few other kind of exciting things that you can manage to do with it. So we'll just move these ones to the side there.
It's very good now.
Choose your bowl. So I'm just going to go with the simple basic bowl there that we use for cereal and pudding. And then if you've got Vaseline, just rub it round with Vaseline there. And again, that just gives a nice coating. Just make sure that the glue will come off. It'll stick to each other, but the glue will come off. So now you could just leave it with Vaseline. If you don't have cling film, you can just leave it with Vaseline. But if you do have cling film, and maybe if it is something that's a little bit more precious to you, you can then just use a little bit of cling film and pop it over all the way to the edges. So you can wrap it round because that's going to come off. So, great. Should we leave it there, I think? Brilliant. Thank you, Tegan, for your help. So now, so remember, I'm using the cold paste that I've got here. And you are going to get a little bit messy, but I would just say really enjoy that kind of sensation, that feeling. And it does just come off really easy afterwards because after all, it is just flour and water. So once you've got your bowl either vaselined or cling filmed, you want to get some paste on your hands and just begin to rub that paste all over the bowl. Just so it's nice and thick, because then you're going to begin to take your layers. And again, when you're thinking about it, so that's quite a nice little drawing. I want that to be seen when I've got the bowl separate from this one. So you're going to put that face down because that's what will be seen. So anything that looks interesting, colours maybe, if you're using newspaper, just place it face down. And then, yeah, see there's another little picture. So again, you can be looking through your magazines, newspapers, even like junk mail, things like that come in. Inside of envelopes are quite nice to use. They've got some nice patterns. So have a good rummage and see what you can find. Now again, I was going to just stick with one type of magazine, but you could decide to do a real mixture. You could decide to add in any kind of paper, or think about actually I'm going to do a yellow trim round the outside, because don't forget this first layer, that is what is going to be seen on the inside of your bowl. So again, just keep using that paste. Now I would say you want a good amount of paste, but you want to smooth it onto the bowl. So when it's on that bowl, you want to smooth it so there's no lumps, because if you get lumps, they take a little bit longer to dry, which isn't great, because you want to get it done nice and quickly, and can just go a little bit soggy. So you just want to make sure you can dollop lots of paste on, but you want to make sure it's all covered with paper, and try and get it as tight and as smooth as you possibly can. So we'll carry on. So I'm thinking I'm doing a yellow trim at the bottom, then kind of newspaper and picture print on the middle. But on this side, I'll just show you if you have got some shredded paper. This is a little bit trickier to use because you kind of have to lump it together. So again, I would say go for a good amount of paste, and you're just going to try and really splodge it on like that. And this is where you just need a bit more paste, and you've got to have that kind of patience and ability to smooth on. Now if you're working with really young children, they might shove it all on, and then it might take an adult just to smooth it down afterwards. And the trick with the paper is that you want to make sure that every possible bit is covered. So if you're using shredded paper, it might be a little bit thicker because you've got to just keep adding it on, but it gives a really nice effect inside the bowl because you've got lots and lots of little detail, and you might even begin to recognise just tiny little bits that have been on a shredded paper. So that's one. Again, if all you have to hand is some very simple paper, that is absolutely fine. Just kind of go for your sort of, again, smallish pieces of paper, because you can either leave it like that afterwards, or you can paint it if you wish. And I'd recommend for painting, I'd recommend some kind of sort of acrylic paint is good because it's just a little bit more durable, but any paint that you have. And again, you'll notice with the paper, the thinner it is, the easier it is just to get that there and on. So you can take a good bit of time But what I would recommend is that you aim to get a whole complete layer finished in one go. Don't leave it halfway through. You want to get that first layer all completed and done. So I've got a real mix of different ones here. Now you don't need to stop at bowls. You might not have a bowl, you might want to do a balloon. A balloon is great, and you don't need to do Vaseline or cling film with the balloon because you just pop it at the end and it shrinks in, so then the paper stays there. But the important thing is to make sure that it is dry before you take anything off. So I'm nearly there with this one. So again, you want to make sure you're looking for all those gaps. So it might take a little bit of a time to make sure that all the gaps are filled in. Now, in fact, I'm going to change that because it's the first layer. I want that to be on the inside of the bowl. So remember, your first layer, everything is face down for the inside, and you want to get it as smooth as you possibly can. So it might look a little bit boring on the outside, but don't worry. Now, depending on the type of paper you're using, you're probably going to need to do about 3 layers. So this is a longer project, and that's why I say you might like to have a few on the go at the same time. You might want to think, actually, I'm going to do a series of three bowls so I can do all the layers together. And if you do run out of paste, you can just knock some up again quickly. And remember, just make sure that it cools before you use it. Now, I've got one other idea that I'm just going to show you as well. So as we are in autumn, so when you're out and about, you might like to go and search for some leaves. And leaves can make a really beautiful inner layer for a bowl too. So what I would suggest is collect your leaves, clean them, make sure they've not got any dirt on them, so maybe run them under the tap and cut them into smaller bits, because the smaller the bit, the easier it is to stick onto the bowl. And what I would say again, so here I've started adding some leaves onto this bowl, is just smoothing it on and really push it down. Make sure you've got paste on both sides of that leaf there to smooth it down. Think about all the different shapes. You might want to do smaller shapes, maybe cut it into triangles or squares, or here you can actually see it's looking at the leaf shape. So, and again, pop it over as much as you can onto the thing. If you do have any questions at this stage, pop the questions in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. But a lot of what it takes is just a bit of patience and lots of smoothing out. Now, I did say before to just do 1 layer at a time, but what I would suggest if you're using something like leaves is to get something simple paper. So this is just simple thin brown packaging paper, and just on top of that you just want to smooth that, because that will give it a little bit more strength for when you come to your next layer, because it will just join it all together, because the leaves are harder to kind of get working. So it's where almost all your hard work gets hidden, because you're hiding it behind these paper bits. So we'll just keep on. And really, you can let your imagination, you know, run as wild as you like. You can go for, you know, have a look at what paper you have and then decide what you might go for. So like I said, we've got a pumpkin one there. We've got then a little pot. We've got, I think the girls might want to show how they're getting on with their bowls over there. I think they're using some bright coloured paper for that first layer. So I'll just finish this one off quickly and show you what a finished kind of the first layer should look like. And then we'll have a little think just about the top layer, and then really It's down to you. Have a go, have a play, see what you can come up with, and don't forget to share your pictures with us online at OT Creative Space. Do post your pictures, tag us in them. But it will just take a little bit longer. It's not a super instant finished thing, but it's a good thing if you are stuck at home for a bit of time. So I don't know about you, but if you've had any children sent home from school, it's a great activity to just keep them focused, and you can do a little bit every day. So there we go. So I'm just making sure at the end that you just, of each layer, you want to smooth it down. So I've got my leaves under there and then my brown paper, and I'm just smoothing it down as much as possible because that will make it much easier for the next layer. So do that, pop it somewhere to dry. A great place to pop it would be on the top of a radiator, something like that, where it's going to get a little bit warm. Once it's dry, come back again and do another layer. Now, like I said, it'll take about 3 layers, maybe 4, just depending. You just have a little squeeze of your bowl and see how firm it is. You want it to be feeling quite firm. So once you've done those couple of layers, you want to think about the top layer at the end. So in looking at, so this is another example that actually I've done lots of paper inside. It's gold in the middle, lots of paper, gold on the outside, but then I've created a little bit of detail just by adding small strips of paper in over there. So these were made by me and my girls, made them a little bit ago. And also, once your bowl is finished, you can either trim over the edges, make sure it's nice and flat. You can leave them all bumpy like that and make it into a feature if you've got lots of paper. Or you might decide to just, you can cut it off, or you might decide to just, once you've taken it out, just add a little bit of paper over the top there just to finish it off. It is completely up to you how you want it to finish it off and what you want to use it for. So that one has been done with a box and a lid, and it's just been squished a little bit in there just to make sure that the lid fits in. So I think we are nearly done there for today. What I would say, just to remind you, is it takes a little bit of time. So that first layer that you put on, once you've Vaseline or cling filmed, is think about what the inside is going to look. So any design or colour, put it face down onto that bowl, so when you take it off you will see it. Leave it to dry after each layer, make sure it's all smoothed down, leave it to dry. When it's dry, come back again, do 3-4 layers on it, and that last layer you want to think about the outside of it. So again, when it comes to it, if this was my last layer and I was wanting it all to look quite sort of colourful like that, I would be wanting to make sure that that is going on the outside and smooth down. That's probably quite a big piece. It's always better, the smaller the piece the better, because you can get it really close in. So don't be tempted to do it all in one go, because it'll take a really long time to dry and it might just get soggy in between. It's always better to build it up with a couple of layers over a couple of days. And do get creative, have a go with balloons, see if you can make any creatures, see what you can make and show us those pictures. So I'd like to say thank you for my helpers, thank you for the girls, thank you for Aniran who's been on all the behind the scenes setting this up. And you can watch how to make the paste again, that's absolutely fine, and share your pictures with us. Thank you, goodbye.